Welcome to the Rise Above show with Patricia Joe Grover. And this is where we rise above our challenges and turn believers into achievers. I want to take just a quick moment and thank our sponsors, 133 Approved Funding. They say yes when the bank says no, and they've been able to help small businesses keep their doors open through the global pandemic and keep people employed. Now, they also have products that they use for businesses to be able to have their clients like people like for Tristan and myself, if we have clients who can't afford the services that we provide, they can get funding through 133 Approved Funding so that they can help improve their lives. So it's just like getting a student loan. So I just wanted to put that information out there and share what 133 Approved Funding does. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest today, Tristan Helm. He actually was born in Colorado and raised in Oklahoma, and now he's thriving in the great state of Texas. Tristan has worked with individuals from multiple backgrounds and cultures in various settings on rehabilitation skills and habits, learning to adapt to a society and excel as human beings. So I know he's going to talk to us today about how we fit into our own environments, whether it be home, work, school. So I know that's going to be awesome. So glad to have you with us, Tristan.
Thank you so much, Patty. I love being here. Thank you again for the opportunity.
We were talking a little bit before, and just, you're going to be a speaker on our upcoming Rise Above Summit, our July summit. And you will be talking in the environmental dimension of life, because the summit we have speakers that talk in all 8 dimensions and how they serve in those dimensions. So, geez, Tristan, tell me a little bit about how you see environment and how it works within your life or other people's lives.
Well, when it comes to environment, we have to consider more than just like our physical place, right? It's not always just where we live at, right? But it's also the books that we read. It's the people that we hang around. It's the movies that we watch or don't watch, or it's the company that we keep and the ultimate atmosphere. So like when it comes to the dimensions, just within the environment, we have to look at the many different aspects of what we have around us and how that affects the way we think, the way we process, the way we do things, and ultimately how we respond to those said stimuli.
So true. And yeah, and there, that can be, again, in all aspects of our lives. Just for an example, in your office, if your office and you're sitting at your desk and it's a cluttered mess, and that messes with your focus, and it can affect the way that you are responding and how you can,
absolutely,
how engaged you can be.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know the order and things being neat and clean is not everybody's forte, but when it comes to like just me making a small adjustment, like clearing off my desk, making making room for something else, you know what I mean? Or even getting rid of some clutter, that I can essentially control the order that's in my life. And what I mean by control is when my desk is chaotic or things in my life are chaotic, if I can learn to bring just a little bit of order to that, then all of a sudden my nerves are a little bit more calm.
Right.
And then whenever I'm calm, I think a little bit more clearly, and then I can respond to things with a more calm demeanor, and I can react slowly rather than just sporadically or out of chaos. Because my life is in chaos, I'm going to respond chaos.
Right. Right. Oh, so true. And even, and we'll be realistic. Even though we may hear dogs barking in the background, again, that is that's uncontrollable at this point. So it's how you choose to accept that, deal with that, and work through that. instead
Absolutely.
of getting all uptight. So that is
Yeah.
so very, very true, and in our regular lives. So, what are some key things that a person can be aware of when they're working on things to adjust the environments around them?
So, like we were just talking about, there are certain things that are not in our control. Like I do have some puppies that are in the living
Yeah.
room or that are in my kitchen. They're just fighting, they're playing around. But right now I'm over here, I'm doing this, so I can deal with that later. And it's almost an allegory for life. There are some things that I cannot control, some things that I can't do, but there are a few things that I can. And so rather than obsessing and getting all upset over the things that I cannot control, I guess as much as ideally it would be sometimes to just up and leave a toxic environment, that's not realistic because it's not always possible. Like if we don't have, even if we had all the money in the world, we couldn't just up and leave because we're not escaping the environment. We're just escaping the constituents, the circumstances. The environment is what we allow. So I went from one place to the next and it followed me. The drama or whatever was going on. So it's not so much where I live again, but it's what can I do about where I'm at? And when the situation arises, which it does and it will, I get the chance to move on, to go and leave the circumstances. Not because I'm changing the circumstances. I already changed that. I changed what was inside of me. I'm just now moving on to the next phase. I'm dealing with a different set of circumstances. So Stephen Covey has got this book. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he talks about the circle of concern and the circle of control. And inside the circle of concern, it's one big circle of it, essentially. And it's all the things that bother us, the things that we're concerned about. But when you learn to compartmentalize and put the things that you have control over, and you focus on those things, then the things that you have no control over start kind of fading into the background. And so I don't have control over everything, but I have control over this, this, and this. So that's what I'm going to focus on. I don't have to be around these people because they're always negative. So I'm going to start hanging around some different people, or I'm just going to be by myself. I can't control the people that I work with, but I can control how I respond to them. I don't have to talk to them unless it's absolutely necessary. I got to work there because that pays my bills. But I don't have to allow that effect on me so much that I bring that everywhere I go.
Right. Yeah. So Tristan, how does your own personal journey with the environments that you've dealt with helped you and hurt you? How has that balance been?
So I've had the fortunate and unfortunate experience of both the good and the bad of that. My environment was toxic and I was living a very chaotic and toxic life. And I was kind of at the whim of the people around me. And some of them were very, very, I don't want to keep repeating that word, they were just very bad for me. They were affecting my mental health. They were affecting my self-esteem. Long ago, I wanted to be in the movies. I wanted to be a theater actor. So I hung around people like that. And then I realized, maybe I'm better fit as I want to be a detective. So I read crime novels. I went to school for criminal justice. I started talking to officers and hanging around people that I was in school with. And so then I started thinking that way. I'd walk into a room and I'd start looking at the exits and I'd start thinking about clues. But then I kind of just got derailed from that and realized that I don't want to do the enforcement. I want to do the helping. I want to do the mentoring. So now I hang around people that are mentoring. I hang around speakers. I hang around people who have their own shows. And it's just because that's the environment I want to keep. You're going to have out of life what you tolerate, not what you want, what you tolerate. If I tolerate people talking down to me, it's going to affect me and how I think. If I don't tolerate it, I ain't got to be a bully to be back or to back to them. But you know what? I don't have to sit there and let it affect me. I can still be a positive person in a negative world. Exactly. So it's hurt me in many ways because I've had to learn the hard way. Like I grew up with a very, very low self-esteem. I went everywhere, different schools all the time. And I realized I don't want my kids with that.
Right.
I don't want my children to go through whatever. I don't want to keep going through it. I want to find a place and be stable.
Right.
So I found out what I didn't want through the things that I had to go through.
Exactly. But sometimes that the hard way is sometimes the way that some people have to learn, and
Absolutely.
And as much as we as parents, we'll just thinking of it as that way, we want to try to keep them from having to go through so much pain and that struggle. But sometimes they have to learn things on their own.
Yeah. And it's just resistance breeds strength.
Yeah.
Whether we accept or want that or not, it's kind of not even a matter of how we feel about it. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I don't get stronger without resistance.
Right.
I cannot become better unless something is weighted against me that is heavy, And
Right.
so the more resistance, and that's why I love perception, because instead of seeing something as a challenge or as something as a barrier or something as a mountain, I can now choose to look at it as an obstacle that I get to overcome. So now my environment is no longer negative. It's an opportunity to overcome it. And so I choose the way I entertain those thoughts with the environment that I keep on the things that I control.
Exactly. And that's such great points, Tristan. Really, it's fantastic. It's our choices and decisions that we make that help define our destiny. And
oh my goodness,
yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
So just because you brought that up,
yeah.
I think it's Stephen Covey or maybe Andrew Carnegie or even Napoleon Hill who said, the person you are in 5 years is determined by the company you keep and the books you read. So the atmosphere and the people you're around determine or have a great effect, if at least anything, where you go in 5 years.
Oh, exactly. I remember when I was a child, my mother would say, "You are who you hang out with."
Exactly. Absolutely.
Exactly.
And that's a very tough thing to really come to grips with because we have an emotional connection with our friends.
Exactly. And so it's even more difficult when you're younger and you're in those teenage years. But yeah.
Yeah, and you want to be accepted. You want to be cared about. And the only group of people around you are this group of people. And they're negative, but at least they're giving you attention. Yeah. So that's really difficult to say, I'd rather be by myself. I don't like thinking that low of myself. I don't like being around that stuff.
That's true. That is true. So Tristan, what are some things a person can do to help on their journey and in creating that healthier environment?
So along with considering the things that we can do, like not just, I can't control that, so I'm not going to worry about it. And not just, well, I can do this about that, so I'm going to work on that. But also we have to learn how to cut things out of our life. If I want to achieve a certain goal, then I've got to cut things out of my life, period. If I want to lose a certain amount of weight, I got to cut out sugar. I like sugar. Sugar tastes great. Sugar's a great part of life. Makes me happy. Having cookies and milk and a movie is wonderful, but it doesn't support my goals of wanting to be in better shape. I got to cut out sleeping in because my only time I can work out is in the morning time. I got people that are always negative and beating me down. You know what? I care about them. I love them, but I got to stop hanging around them so much. And so it's not just what are we adding, but looking at what do I need to exclude from my life. And that's not to say like that you're better than them. It's not to sound elusive or esoteric or feel big about yourself. It's just saying, look, I'm trying to go to this level. You want to come with me? Come on, let's go. I'll help you up there. You help me up. But if you don't, bye. It's hard, but it's simple. You have to cut things out of your life that are literally bringing you down and stopping you from achieving a particular goal or a particular mindset that you want to have.
I couldn't agree more. Those are and it's just a great way that you put those explanations. So, Tristan, if a person's having trouble leaving their environment, how can they better themselves and be more effective that way?
Like a lot of things, the answer is simple, but it's not easy. Really paying attention to your cognitive thinking. And that's a big word for some people. It's a big word for me. I have to look it up a lot. Like, what does that word mean again? But your cognitive thinking is just the way you perceive it. And so sometimes I have to look at, why did I have that thought? Why did I get offended over something that had nothing to do with me? Why did I automatically take that personal when it didn't even involve me? Like, those people were around me, and yeah, they said those things, but I know they're not true. That goes against the facts.
Right.
So it takes a lot of tough love on yourself. Again, not beating yourself down, but just tough love. Like, why do I think that way? You know what? And so then you get to sit back and you get this wonderful opportunity to reflect, to meditate on, what books am I reading? What movies am I watching? What are those type of stuff that my friends say? You know, who are the type of people that I hang around? You know, what type of conversations am I having around people at work? You know, what affects me and what am I affecting? And then once you've sat down and you've looked at the hard truth of it, you then begin to adjust it. Like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't read that book because it's kind of a negative book. You know, maybe I shouldn't watch those types of movies. Or maybe, you know what? I'm just going to stop hanging around those. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. I want to hang out with y'all, but I'm a little busy tonight. And truth be told, you're not busy, but you're busy meaning you got other things that you need to be doing. And so you start learning how to tweak a few things here and there in your life and evaluating them as they come. Change, for one, doesn't happen overnight. Your mind is just a computer. It doesn't happen. You have to unload, reinstall, uninstall some things, reprogram to get it there. And that takes time and it takes effort. So sometimes you won't realize that you're around a toxic person until you're around the toxic person and you get to thinking, man, I don't think I want to be around that like that anymore. And by all means, I try to be as humble as I can about it. Like, it's not because you're better. It's just because you don't want to be a part of that.
Right.
And so I don't like to be the type of person like, I'm just not going to be around you. I'm just like, man, I'm sorry. I got a lot of things going on right now. You know, I don't want people to feel excluded. I just don't want to include myself in situations that I find out are demeaning or toxic or negative or in any way brings me down or keeps me from where I'm headed in life.
And actually, that is such a good point for us to take a real look and see, and dig down why is it, who is it that's holding me back? What are the things that are happening? Do I have any control, and what choices do I have to change these things?
Absolutely. And it's difficult. And I'm trying to say that as empathetically as you can. It's not easy,
Right.
But it's worth it. It's when you learn to just start looking at things and saying, maybe I shouldn't be around that much. Maybe I should stop reading or watching or, maybe I really should take less naps. Maybe I should really find a good hobby that makes me feel good about myself. And as you pay attention to your environment, again, the different dimensions just of the environment, not even the 8 wonderful dimensions you have in your summit, just looking at the environment alone, you get to look at, okay, what am I affecting? What's affecting me? What can I change? What do I have no control over? And so then you just start making adjustments as you go. And eventually you'll find that old habits, they die hard, but they die. There's things that I just can't be around that I used to love. Things that I cannot do. They are just almost grotesque to me.
Right.
But I used to love doing. So it's just learning to make those little bitty adjustments in the places, the people, the things in your life, the overall environment that you have.
Exactly. Such wonderful tips, and I couldn't agree more. It's a simple thing. It may be harder to do than you think, but it's well worth it once you do.
Very much so. Very
Yes.
much worth it. It's worth it.
So Tristan, do you have any special gifts for the show viewers?
I do. So anybody who goes to my website, www.helmmastery.com, and they, in the subject line, or if you go to email me, you will put down your name, your first name, your last name, and your little note. But in the subject line, if you'll put, Patty Jo Grover, Patty sent me, or something referencing you, then I will give them 30 minutes of my devoted time to work on their environment, to work on things that can help them.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you for being, a guest on the show and a speaker on the upcoming summit.
Looking forward to it.
That actually, you will be on the environmental dimension Tuesday, July 7th. And that segment airs at 11 o'clock, and you're the second speaker in that dimension. So
amen.
This is right hot off the press news coming out now. A
Yes.
flash on when that's going to be. I just want to take another moment now and thank our sponsors, 133 Approved Funding. So many small businesses, whether they have been trying to stay in business to keep people employed, or people that have lost their jobs because businesses went out and they needing to look at getting funding to start a business of their own, they may want to reach out and find out more about 133 Approved. And anyone who'd like to find out more about me, if you go to patriciajogrover.com, you can find everything there, as well as I have gifts for anyone who wants to text the word GOAL, GOAL, to 26786. I have a little video for us to watch, and thank you again, Tristan, for being with me.
Thank you, Patty. It is always an honor. Thank you very much.